Hello everyone and welcome to Apple One-to-One Training. Today's a special video. We're going to be doing some Final Cut training here, and I got permission from Akiti, who I have an interview on my channel with her from Apple One-to-One Training days. She was a former Apple Store employee, and she and I have had conversations, but she's also starting her own channel for 360 of Wealth channel that she started up here. And she asked for me to give her feedback on the video, and I was going to give her feedback more on the editing perspective of things. I gave her some advice on what things I think she should do to improve her video quality, and obviously she's not a Final Cut editor or nothing, so I wanted to give her some knowledge, and I figured I'm going to put together a video showing how to take a single static shot and actually put it together editing wise to make it more unique. Now what we're seeing here is we're going to take about a 1 minute 17 second clip, and initially, the way she shot it is that she put everything together in one static video and just basically had a conversation. What I told her was, well, can I use this to show some education behind Final Cut Pro? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a single shot with some audio, and what we're going to do is how do we improve it? Also, how do we distribute it out to podcasting, social media, and even to like TikTok? And I'm going to show you the different ways of doing that. And I already have some finale options here that I've already created. Please like us, subscribe all of our content. We do have a lot of Final Cut training here. What we're going to do is start going through this together. So number one is that she wanted it for a TikTok video, she wanted it for a podcast, and she wanted it for social media. We're also going to be utilizing Compressor as well, going into that app and how we do it. So first off, we have this static clip here. I'm going to put the audio up, and so we might hear her for a couple clips here, but as you can see, we have a title here in the beginning, and as we scroll through, we have just a static shot of her talking. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create a project. So what we're going to do is go to File, New, Project, and what we're going to do is we're going to give it a name. Call this Akiti, and we're going to call it Social Media. I'm just going to call it this name. We're going to automatically just figure out the settings based on the first video properties. I'm not going to change anything. Hit OK. There we are. We now have our timeline down here. Here's the selection of the clip. We're going to play just 10 seconds.
Hi friends, welcome to 360 Degrees of Wealth, your source for the information you need to get the life you want with the wealth you deserve.
Okay, so that is the idea of her show, and she goes through her entire show and just talks about 360 of Wealth. What we're going to do first is I already have this selected portion right here. And in other videos, by the way, I've already talked about how to do some editing. So we're not going to go through every single detail of how to do things. I do have already videos and a Final Cut playlist here you could take a look at. So let's now take this, and what we're going to do is we can do as many ways. You can just drag it down, or we could just use E for end because it takes it to the end of the video. And we now put it into the timeline. I have my audio levels right here, which by the way are normally here, but you can click it right up here to get it out. And normally video, you want it to be around the -6 area, or in between, somewhere between -6 and 0. So I have to knock this up a little bit. Inside the audio properties here of Inspector, I'm going to now do something called loudness. And what that's going to do is it's just going to enhance the audio to get it higher. And
you deserve. I'm your host, Kathy Coley.
Okay, and then I'm also going to throw in some voice isolation to get rid of some sound out of there, and then I'm going to play it back more.
Episode, the 4 pillars that define how to get through.
Okay, so that's the example of that. So before I even started, I wanted to do the audio, and the reason why is that we're going to start doing some cutting here, and I want to make sure the audio is maintained throughout the whole thing. So the first thing we're going to do, start off a little bit tighter. As we can see, we have a little bit of yellow, we have the yellow text, and there's a little bit of emptiness on the bottom. So what I'm going to do overall is I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I want to already have a little bit more of a zoom up. So we're going to use the crop feature, and we're going to do crop, not trim, and we're going to take the corners and we're kind of just going to make it smaller. And what I probably actually should be doing as I'm doing this live is probably just see where I'm going. So I want to go to about the edge here, and then I'm just going to move it, and as you can see, it's kind of centering it. I could go a little tighter, but for visual sake, I wanted to cut this bottom out. So I'm going to hit done. So now we have this permanently the same throughout the entire thing. So we have less room, and now the bottom looks like it's just the yellow text, which is what I want. Now let's talk about where I want to make some cuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of video.
Source for the information you need to get the life you want with the wealth you deserve. I'm your host, Kathy Coley, and I'm here to share with you on this first episode the 4 pillars that define how to get 360 degrees of wealth. So let's dive right in. So when we talk...
Let's talk about something we can get rid of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to use Command and plus. I'm going to zoom in on the timeline. So where she says...
So let's dive right in.
So let's say I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is use the R tool. This is called the range tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag across and remove that section of the video. Delete. So now if I play it back...
360 degrees of wealth. So when we talk about...
So we skipped that little part right there, which I think was not necessary for her to say. What I'm also going to try is I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So instead of just cutting directly to her with her arms out and then her arms crossed, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of change the edit. And let's see where I want to change it to. So,
well, we're talking about financial wealth. Well, we're talking about financial.
So I'm probably going to go right about here. And what I'm going to do is use the blade tool. So B for blade. Now we have this little scissor. Click it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just crop in more. So I'm going to use the crop tool again. And we're going to be using a lot of crop tool today. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And what this is doing is that it's almost like I'm creating an edit and hit done. Now we're really zoomed in here. So let's go ahead and now play it back.
Find how to get 360 degrees of wealth. So when we talk about 360 degrees of wealth, we're talking about financial wealth.
Now she goes through the 4 items of wealth. And what I wanted to do was actually show that on screen. I feel like that was necessary for us to get a visual of it. So that's what we're going to be doing, is that we're going to be putting some text on the screen. Now, for the sake of timing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my final here. This is already like an edit I already created here. And what I'm going to do is I already have taken this for text. This is actually like a full completed shot, but I didn't want to show this. I'm showing you how I'm creating it. So I'm going to go right here to this layout that I already created. It has like as all of it explained on the screen. And as you can see, it's a little bit to the right of her. Go to edit, copy, and then I'm going to go to this clip and I'm going to paste. Now again, we're not teaching editing skills here. I'm trying to show you how to take something from there, and I have many videos that talk about Final Cut.
Well,
so I want to now take the same idea. We're going to take a crop, and we're going to crop her. So I'm going to go
right in. What does that mean?
So
time wealth.
Okay, so right about there, and then I'm going to blade again, and I have to do the same thing. I have to crop. So what I'm going to do is be on top of the text. I'm going to take the crop tool. And I'm going to kind of move it over so we have a little bit room right here on this side. A little bit tighter. All right. And actually, we probably want to be a little bit tighter than that. So let's go even tighter. And maybe we don't need as much room. So we're using rule of thirds here. So let's see now.
Social wealth. Talking about financial wealth.
Now we want to bring this text back where she talks about financial wealth. So let's go ahead and we'll make this a little bit bigger so it can go across. Let's now watch it back.
Financial wealth, social wealth, energetic wealth, and time wealth.
All right. So now going back to this clip, we'll see the difference in the...
About 360 degrees of wealth. We're talking about financial wealth, social wealth.
So as you can see, we've taken a tighter shot, made it bigger, and now we've included some text here. Now, we're cutting from this crop.
Time wealth. What does that mean? Let's dive right in.
Same deal. We're going to take that portion out of there. I don't think we need that up to this part here. So I'm going to delete this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go to a certain point. We're not going to we're not going to go through like this entire clip here, but here is a section right here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to go real tight this time. So I'm going to take the crop tool, go in here, and now we're really tight. So now let's go ahead and actually we can go even tighter than that. Also, we're kind of zooming in on when she does really big hand movements. So let's go ahead and let's now play.
Financial wealth is probably the one y'all are most likely thinking about, which is the money you need to do the things that you want, to get the things that you want.
So like right about here where we have a little bit of gap, I'm going to just use the range tool, delete it. And then same deal. I'm going to go to a certain section. I'm going to blade it. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to crop this portion. And what it looks like I'm doing, it's hiding the cuts where I'm taking some dead air or maybe some audio that I don't want to include. Let's go ahead and play it back.
Want to get the
Oh, by the way, I'm using spacebar just in case anybody doesn't know that.
Get the things that you want. In this era, you cannot do anything without money. You can't get groceries for the...
So there you go. So now we're going through it. Now I want to show you kind of a final look of this. Instead of going through all the editing, I pretty much left everything the way it was. The only thing I did was in the beginning is I wanted to include some audio in there because I felt like the beginning of a video, you should have some kind of audio. So in Final Cut, they already have this sound effects library, and I was looking through some of the default sound effects. It has to load, by the way, so that's why the first time you kind of go in here, it doesn't work. So I actually organized it by time because the jingles are where I got that from. So here was a track that I felt like it fit what she was doing. So I'm going to mark an in and an out. So I for in, O for out, and then just kind of drag it down here into the timeline. And now if I play it,
Hi friends, welcome to 360 Degrees of Wealth, your source for the information you need to get the life you want with the wealth you deserve.
Okay, and then I'm going to just drag this back, and then I'm going to just kind of use just lower it down.
The wealth you deserve. I'm your host, Kathy Coley, and I'm here to share with you on this first episode the 4 pillars.
And right here, even where the 4 pillars is right there, I would just do a blade and probably just zoom in a little bit on her. It's just she's like, the 4 is a very important part of her video here. So
this first episode, the 4 pillars that define how to get 360 degrees of wealth.
There we are. So that's an example of how to do this. And now I'm going to show you the final edit. So if I go to the final that I've already created, I've already done all of the things you just saw. I went through the entire clip and I kept zooming in. So for example, like I really zoomed in over here.
As much as there will be many philosophers out there, myself included, that will tell you about...
There you are. Now it is a little blurry on the playback. Now that's because I'm zooming in. She is using an iPhone for filming here. And as I told her before, one of the things that she should consider doing is having a 2-camera setup, which wouldn't be a bad idea. One camera could be a little bit tighter. One camera could be that. And then you could do multicamming. So, but for doing a 1-shot take and just cutting it up, and you're probably going to knock down, if I went through this entire video, and her video I believe was around 9 minutes long, which I think is still a good length for video watching. Yeah, it's about 9 minutes. You can see the time code right down here, which indicates that information. That you could probably knock down a minute just by going through and just tightening up your shots a little bit. So let's talk about the next steps of this, is where, let's say I completed this edit. All the things I talked about in this video, I have already done in this final clip here. I only took about 1:19 just to go through it and gave her as an example. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use compressor to actually complete this. So what I'm going to do under File, we're going to go to Share, and there's 2 options. We have Share, which you can just export out the shot, or 2, send a compressor, new batch. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to click on new batch, and what's going to happen is compressor is going to automatically open up. Let's go ahead and we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Now, a lot of people have probably not dived in compressor. In fact, I don't have a video on compressor, so I'm going to take a little more time working on compressor. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load the project. Now, personally, I would tell you the best option when you're doing video. So as you can see, I'm having some freezing issues. And the reason why I'm doing, and that's happening, is because I'm taking this project directly from here and going right to compressor. Personally, I don't do that. I think it takes longer and it freezes up a little bit. You kind of saw in my previous shots here, it's trying to load this project and it's taking some time because it's going from one app to the other. Personally, what I would always tell you to do, you can see the freezing's happening again. This is why, and I restarted this computer before I even did this. So what I recommend is go to Share, Export File. And what you could do is you can go into Settings and make sure your video codec is set to Apple ProRes 422. This is the best quality format to work with. It is going to be high. And then what the idea is that it's going to send it to compressor because I have an action here that tells it to do that. And then I won't get all this freezing going on because that way it's a file that's stored on the computer. It's not an active file. And Final Cut just works so much better that way. So I'm going to hit next. And I'm going to go and save it to the desktop. I'm going to call it Akiti Social Media Test. And I'm going to save it to the desktop for now. And what's going to happen in compressor is that once the export is done, it's going to open up in here. So I'm actually going to delete this job. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. I don't want to use compressor. As you can see, it's freezing up. This is why this doesn't work. But it's already done. That was quick. So it's already created a final. As you can see, creating a ProRes is much better. So I went ahead and I deleted that Final Cut project. And like I said, going forward, I'm going to recommend that you always do this by using the export feature of the ProRes file. All right, so now we have our completed project. Now by default, it automatically adds this preset here because that's what I told it to do. In compressor settings, you could tell it what your default preset is, and this is the one I use the most. But for this job, we're not going to do that. So under the left side is all the presets, and one of them, it's HD 1080p, and I'm just going to drag that, just replacing it. And there we are. Location is source. So what it means is that wherever the file of the source comes from, that is where it's going to put it. But of course you could change this, and that's what we're going to do. But we also got to do a podcast version of this. So we can actually now do two jobs at the same time. That's where MP3 is going to come in because podcasts are mostly MP3s. And I'm just going to drag it here. And what that's going to do is it's going to create two files, one that is HD 1080 and one that's MP3. But we also have to do a TikTok version of this. So because TikTok versions have I guess I would say a padding on it, it has like, it's cropped. What we have to do is, I already created something very unique, but I'm going to show you how to do it kind of live. So I'm going to take a 720p because most social medias are around that. So I'm going to take a 720p, and on the right side are the properties of the inspector here. So inside the cropping tool, they already have a preset called 9:16. What that's going to do is that it's going to put and add numbers automatically to the left and right. This is the cropping tool, and this little dragger right here will show you the before and the after, and you can see what it's doing is it's cutting off that amount. So for our social media purposes, the 9:16 is going to do the vertical format that we need. Here's the problem though. Her text is cut off on the bottom. So now in circumstances, if you weren't using text, then this wouldn't be a problem here on the bottom, but it is, because I don't want it to be cut off. This is where the cropping feature is not going to work for this job. We actually have to create a brand new project that'll work within this job. So what we're going to do is we're not going to use the cropping tool in here, and I'm going to remove that job. But what I am going to do is complete these two. So I'm going to hit Start Batch, and now under Active, we can see it's going to create two items in here. We're creating a test HDP, and we're creating a test MP3, and it's going to create this in the background. So this is a background task, and while it's going, it'll show me under the completed section where it's going to be at. So I'm going to let this go and then show you the final result. But let's go back to Final Cut Pro. All right, so now we're going to back in Final Cut Pro, and we're going to do something called a vertical shot. So what I'm going to do is, let's say my project is complete for this social media one. I completed it. It's good to go, but I need to create a TikTok version or a Instagram version of the shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the final one that I did here, the completed job I did, and what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the project. And I'm going to right click and call duplicate project as, and then I get all my options here. So I'm going to do a key, and we're going to do social media TikTok. I'm going to put like a little dash TikTok. Okay. And what I got to do for video is I have to change this to a vertical video. That is a key element here. And also there's a new feature called Smart Conform. Smart Conform is going to analyze the faces, and it's going to reframe everything, because if I don't do this, what's going to happen is it's going to look like a small square within a big vertical rectangle, which is what I don't want to do. So I'm going to check this off. You want to do that. Trust me. Even though you're going to have to work on some editing afterwards, this is going to be smart to do. We already have it 720 by 1280, the highest you can go. By the way, don't go higher than 1080. No one supports 4K yet, so don't bother with that. All right. Rendering ProRes, absolutely. I'm going to hit OK. And now this is going to create a new job, and as you can see, it's analyzing my timeline, and it's going to try to fit her face within it. So now if I double click, and now you can see, look what's happened. It's now vertically put her here. Now it's zoomed in on the wrong section of her. I'm going to fix that right now, but also I have to fix the text down here. So in this section, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to utilize a transform tool, and transform will allow me to move the clip, and as you can see, I'm kind of moving it over. Now I don't want to do the hosted by, I just need her part right here, and then I'm also going to use the y-axis and the x-axis and the scale, and I'm going to mess around with this. And remember, this is pre-made text, I can't change this. So now,
welcome to 360 Degrees of Wealth, your source for the information you.
So you can see all of our cuts are still here, but I got to obviously fix this part. This is way too zoomed in the wrong area. So let's go ahead and go to Y and let's go all the way up. So now I'm just using the Y tool just to adjust her, and I'm moving her around, and now I fixed it.
With the wealth you deserve. I'm your host, Kathy Coley, and I'm here to share with you on this first episode the 4 pillars that define how to get 360 degrees of wealth.
Now this shot also has to be fixed because the text is messed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to do kind of the similar thing. I'm going to use the X tool to center her. I'm going to go to the Y tool to kind of go up. Now I also have some text here. So now we have to fix the text as well. So in my text tool, I actually have the ability to just kind of move this over. And obviously the size is too big. So now I have to go into the T. I am now going to, I have a Motion FX option here, so this is going to be a little different than most people, but I'll just do what everybody else has to do, and I'm going to just highlight everything so everything's highlighted, and then just take the text down so it all fits in here. Great. And then I could just move it over and put it right here in the center. So now let's go ahead and play back.
We're talking about financial wealth, social wealth, energetic wealth, and
all right. Now there's other shots where it's zoomed in on her. So what I'm going to do, instead of trying to readjust everything, I'm going to do everything by using the adjustments, the copy adjustments. So right here, I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go to edit, copy. And then let's go to this clip. And what I'm going to do is an option called edit. I'm going to do paste attributes. Now paste attributes, what that does is it takes changes that I made in Spectre, and what it does, it moves it over here. Now, I don't need to adjust the audio, so I'm going to uncheck that. I also don't need to change the spatial conform because it actually messed it up. That's actually the part that got messed up, which is fine. It doesn't matter. Either way, I was going to have to change it. But I do want to make the position and scale the same, so I'm going to paste it. And now look at that. See, it automatically just took the same adjustment and moved it over here. And I would have to keep doing that. So I'm going to give you a shortcut for that. So if I go here, click on it, and I do Shift Command V, it brings up the same attribute much faster. So now I can just uncheck the 2 items I need, hit paste, and it fixes it. And then I would keep going across and doing the same thing. Here we go. Shift Command V, uncheck audio and spatial, paste, and there we are. And now we have taken everything. And by the way, I could have held down Command and done the same thing and done Shift Command V and done all 4 clips at the same time. So there is a way to do it multiple times in the same video. But as you can see, we've now made a TikTok version for this. Now we're going to go to File, Share, and then we could actually just go right to social media right now because I don't need to really go through the whole compressor thing. I'm not doing more than one thing. But the resolution's already here. Everything is good. I'm going to hit Next. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it the name exactly the way it is. I'm not going to change anything. We're going to save it. And we are done within Final Cut. So now on the top right, it's going to start sharing this out, exporting this out, and we're done. And now all we're going to do now is just show you the final result of each one of these items, and we are complete. I hope this was educational on this side as far as Final Cut goes. There's a lot to this. I know this is a very bare bones, but please go check out the Final Cut playlist. This will be here along with everything else. Now I'm going to open this up right here. You can see the jobs were completed for the social media. And then the good thing is I have a magnifying glass. All I got to do is click it. It'll take me right to that location. And now here are all the options right here. We have the ProRes version of that file. We now have the compressed version. You can see the difference between the size. And this is the social media one.
Hi friends, welcome to 360 Degrees of Wealth.
We have the MP3 version for her podcasting, which is important.
Hi friends, welcome.
And now we have the TikTok version we just edited.
Hi friends, welcome to 360 Degrees of Wealth, your source for the information.
And that's it. And we're done. So that is how this works. So I hope everyone got some education behind this, and more so Akiti, because I know this was really for her, which I really wanted to do for her so that she can learn a little bit about some of the tools within Final Cut that can help her improve this process. I could show you that you could take a static shot, one shot, and you could edit it together, get rid of all the things that are from audio wise you don't need, and you can create a nice little cut together quickly for your social media, for your YouTube, and everything like that. So I hope that was educational, guys. Thank you very much, and I love every single one of you.